إعلان جمهورية تانية.
Welcome back, dear viewers. With us now in the studio is Mr. Alaa Khalifa, and he's the international tourism marketing expert. Thank you very much, Mr. Khalifa, for joining us. And allow us, please, and allow us, dear viewers, to watch first a report about our main topic for tonight, and then come back. Please stay with us.
The CBE stated in its report on the performance of the absence of payments that Egypt's tourism revenues increased to a record about $8.2 billion during the period from July 2021 until the end of March 2022, compared to about $3.1 billion during the comparable period of the previous fiscal year. This came despite the absence of tourists from Russia and Ukraine since the outbreak of the crisis between them and the negative effects on the tourism movement. In February, the CBE announced that Egypt's tourism revenues increased during the first quarter of the current fiscal year by 253.3% on an annual basis. The CBE stated in its report on the performance of the balance of payments that Egypt has achieved $2.83 billion in tourism revenues during the period from July to the end of last September, compared to $801 million during the same period in the previous fiscal year. The tourism movement in Egypt witnessed an improvement during 2021 with the start of the emergence of vaccines for coronavirus and the recovery of air traffic and countries' economies from the negative repercussions of the virus during 2020. Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli said in a televised statement that the government wants to reach more than triple annual tourism revenues over the next 3 years. Speaking during a tour of the COP27 venue in Sharm el-Sheikh, the Prime Minister also said that the government is aiming to increase revenues to $30 billion up from almost $9 billion last year, as it tries to help the sector recover from years of disruption.
Thank you very much, Abir Hussein and Rasha Abdul Hamid, for this report. Back here in the studio with our dear guest, Mr. Alaa Khalifa, international tourism marketing expert. Mr. Khalifa, Egypt, you know, the name Egypt markets itself. The treasures that Egypt have market themselves. But marketing is needed and is always needed to get the best outcome. So could you introduce us to what you see as the current main strategies for marketing Egypt as a top destination?
First of all, we as a country, we need to all the time refine our marketing strategies, especially when marketing a very important industry such as tourism industry, which is extremely important right now to the local economy. The economy of Egypt is at its peak received between 12 to 13 billion US dollar. You know, at that time, the best time was 2019. And so far, we have not reached this breaking point. And we need to, and we had gone through different global events such as the COVID-19 virus and the crisis and the war between Russia and Ukraine. So the entire arena has been very volatile, you know, nowadays. So countries have been hit twice, especially one comes with the tension with the war, and then with the COVID-19, and with few other interrupting news that comes out from different, and together with the global economical crisis and the recession. So there is a need by all destination marketing organizations in every country around the world is to refine the plans, is to put new strategies, and to look where the points of weaknesses and start to make them much stronger. And this is what we need to do. This is why we were looking forward to increase inbound tourism from different destinations around the world. And the only way to do that is to first study and analyze the numbers, analyze the behavior, the segmentations of different countries and different outbound markets around the world, and also look at the connectivity between these markets and the Egyptian destination. When it comes to the touristic products, we do have the touristic products for sure. But when it comes to a tourist-friendly environment, we still have to work a lot on this in Egypt. And therefore, we have to refine touristic investment. We have to increase capacity on accommodation. We have to allow new investors to build new hotels. Currently, we have 210,000 rooms, which is at its peak capacity can take up from 15 to 17 million. You'd never be able to reach the 13 million unless we build at least 200,000 more rooms. So there are things to be done on the ground. Infrastructure had to be refined, especially that serves the tourism industry. We have to give incentives to investors. That's on the ground, locally. And there are things that had to be done internationally. The things that to be done internationally first is to change the perception. People have had perceptions about these countries in the Middle East, and Egypt is one of them. We have very strong competitors around us, and these competitors are aware of where how they lost their market share, and they're trying to regain their market share. They're trying to introduce new products. They're trying to give more incentives. AKA, you have Saudi Arabia is becoming as a big competitor. You have Greece as a big competitor. You have UAE as a big competitor. You have all these different countries that are investing billions and billions of dollars in their infrastructure. So. And we are a big competitor to them as well.
Of course.
So our strategy should be built on the fact that we have to first take care of aviation, take care of connectivity. Without connectivity between us and destinations, there would be no tourism. So we have to take care of that. We have to adopt an open sky policy. We have to allow low-cost carriers to operate in Egypt. We have to build our own low-cost carrier, and we have to get people engaged so that we can use Egypt's capacity in different destinations and different airports. Sometimes you find we still have many destinations that we need to have the connectivity, such as back to Japan, countries in Southeast Asia. We need to get markets.
Markets
And,
we need to
and then
gain.
we have to collaborate with big stakeholders into these countries with co-marketing campaigns. See, marketing nowadays totally reshaped from the traditional marketing that people used to carry out in different countries, like using above-the-line marketing, which is like media, TV, and radio. Now it's shifted into social media, shifted into storytelling, into content marketing, into
blogging,
content marketing, video blogging, everything. So influencer marketing as well. So we're extremely lucky at this stage that the best influencers in the Arab world are all mostly come from Egypt. So we have...
Mohammed Salah is one of them.
He's in the sports section, of course. Mohammed Salah is a figure that it's... if we can use him as definitely as an influencer, such as Ronaldo today is an influencer, for different products. But what I'm saying is that the best marketing approach, if you were to answer your question, the best marketing approach for us is to define different destinations around the world, segment them, see which one of them is between 2 to 5 hours in terms of flying time, and those will be our target markets. Okay? Why? Because those are the ones that are more likely to come to you. We also have to take care of our regional tourism, because without regional tourism that coming to us, we'll never be able to make these numbers. Europe itself, Italy or Spain or France, when they make above 60 to 70 million tourists coming every year, 70% of that number comes out from regional tourism. It means come from neighboring countries. So we have to take care of that. We have to invest so much money into this, because that's a very important.
That's in parallel with trying to draw tourists from far away, like from the Far East,
Yes,
or Latin America.
We have to focus on that. We have to focus on that. Secondly, we have to focus on enhancing the touristic experience for people when they come over here, because there is no country around the world is doing international marketing or a destination marketing campaign, whether it's giving it to an agency or a PR agency or whomever, doing that, and then give a content for travelers who get encouraged to come to a destination, and then they spend time at the destination. They don't want to go back to that destination again because of a specific, something could have happened to them. So we have to give them a happiness experience, an experience that they would never forget, an experience that they would always want to do again. That's the second axis. The third axis is to market local brands in Egypt individually and separately. We don't market the country as a whole. You just market Sharm el-Sheikh individually. You market Luxor separately. You market Aswan separately.
Understood, because maybe this or
These
that
are different tourism brands.
Yeah, exactly.
So
that was going to be my next question.
Why you need to do that?
Yeah.
Because in case anything happens to the destination as a name, like some negative news that comes out from the destination, in case there is a war or anything like that, people always remember that destination by the local brands in there.
Right.
You know?
And surely the local brand is connected to the type of tourism that this city or area enjoys. And that was going to be my next question.
The touristic product. Yeah.
Exactly. So I'm sure that, Mr. Khalifa, that the marketing strategy differs if you are, for instance, promoting cultural tourism or conference tourism or medical tourism or leisure tourism and so on. So could you tell us about the maybe what you believe are the most suitable strategies for each of the important sectors or brands of tourism that we have here in Egypt?
Of course. Every touristic product has its own characteristics, and it has its own targeting consumer. So because of the characteristics of a specific type of tourism, we have nearly a dozen of different types of touristic I would say activities,
sectors or activities
in Egypt.
Or brands.
So we have medical tourism, we have cultural tourism, we have
leisure
tourism, we have beach tourism, we have so different types. We have MICE, we have conferences and meetings, and so all these different types of tourism, each one of them, they have their own characteristics, and they have its own.
There's religious tourism, I guess.
On audience as well. And so what we need to do is just search out where those audience for this type of tourism, and then we target them. And then we target them based on a specific demographics. And the demographics could be, you know, the interest, the age, the groups. This fit more into people, for families, for leisure. That this fit more into, you know, people from, like, for example, if we target more of North America, we will definitely focus a lot on the cultural tourism. If we target people from Scandinavia, we'll definitely focus a lot on beach tourism, and you know, we will sell them the sea and the sun. And if we are going to go for religious tourism, like you mentioned, that definitely, if we want to promote the route
of the Holy
Family, definitely we will have to do it in countries where most pilgrims come to. They go to Jerusalem. They can take this as a second alternative, not an alternative, but
maybe
as an extension,
together,
as an extension to what they were doing in these countries. But again, if we're going to do it to religious affiliated groups, for example, you never market that into United States, for example, or into Canada, or into UK. Why? Because those people are Protestant. They're not interested in that. So we have to do it into Catholic countries, and especially with the one with the Catholicism that it's very prominent. So what I'm saying is that demographics can define what is your target audience, where is that audience is, and how you're going to be targeting, and whether it's going to be a storytelling, whether it's going to be a third party. Nowadays, modern organizations of promoting tourism around the world, we call them DMOs, or destination marketing organizations. What they do is they use third party. They use always to promote themselves on a third party platforms. That means doing number of, and Egypt has adopted that, and we are doing this currently. Do co-marketing between partners who are interested to bring people to your destination. The more you bring, the more co-marketing we give, the more support we give you, the more financially financial support that we give you for your marketing campaigns. And this is what we have been doing this for low-cost carriers. We have been doing this for charter flights. We have been doing this also for big tour operators, especially in Europe. Europe normally brings us between 6 to 7 million tourists every year, and the number dropped because of the war. Ukraine used to bring us like 1.2 million, 1.5 million tourists every year. Also, the number dropped to zero. So we are in front of a challenge, and when we need,
we're missing a Russian tourist as well.
And to the other hand, I mean, few months after the war, things turn around into our favor, that European blocked the Russians to come to European destinations. So Russians, what they did, they came to Red Sea destinations. So and they came also to the area where the Gulf is, Dubai and all these different areas. But we do have number of Russian tourists at the moment currently into our destinations. However, but it's not going to compensate the full capacity that we used to have back in 2018 or 2019. What I'm saying is that marketing shifted nowadays, especially for destinations, shifted into better storytelling, using third party to do your story on your behalf, influencing, utilizing social media at its capacity best, and forging or taking care of the touristic experience. If you take care of the good touristic experience at the destination, people will always come back to you, and they become ambassadors when they go back home and bring more and more people to you.
Sure. What about domestic tourism? How do you see it progressing in the past few years, Mr. Khalifa, and the new ways of marketing that target domestic tourists?
First of all, domestic tourism is a very important part of reviving and enriching the tourism industry in any country. So you can never pluck the domestic tourism and just give away to international tourism, because no matter what you did, international tourism will never fill in your rooms all year round. Okay?
Yes.
So what you need to do is you need to encourage, support your domestic tourism. How you do that? You do it by taking care of where domestic travelers go to. Okay, what we do right now currently is that we have domestic tourism have been the savior, the real savior for tourism in Egypt across all different crises that have been taking place since 2011, 13, 15, during COVID time. What saved it is domestic tourism. Okay, what we need to do for domestic tourism is that we need to encourage and promote the different patterns of domestic tourism that has been popular with. Domestic travelers, they have their own interest of going to specific areas, North Coast. People in the Delta, they like to go to areas on the Delta shore. So what we need to do is we need to take care of that by encouraging people to build more or invest more into building new touristic structures, such as tourist restaurants, such as high-end, for example, hotels of 2 to 3 or 4 stars. It could be lodges. It could be camps. That's what domestic tourists, is mostly interested about. North Coast, we need to regulate more into that. We need to also provide better transportation and better pricing for transportation for domestic tourism. That's if we were going to be targeting every household or every kind of budget, you know, for domestic tourism. Right now, currently, we have maybe 2 million Egyptians, 3 million Egyptians at most that are doing either outbound or inbound domestic tourism. The rest, they just do it on their own. They don't use a third party. They don't, you know, they rent apartments or get like house space. However, if we take care of domestic tourism, if we provide the right transportation for them, we give them the right facilities, the right incentives, that would require us to take care of our transportation. Buses are very limited in Egypt. We need to push busing here, bring more buses from abroad. There's so many things that we need to do in our infrastructure that would serve international and domestic tourism. If we take very good care of domestic tourism, then the stakeholders in the tourism industry are not going to be suffering as much when international tourism cuts off, because then the tourism industry is still running into the country. International tourism is very important because it brings hard currency into the country, which is very important. However, in order to have a tourism in the first place, you need to have stakeholders that are able financially to support that tourism and give the good service. So the only way to do that is to have them, you know, engage with more domestic tourism. This will automatically raise the bar for the pricing, you know. And right now we say, hey, we sell the destination so cheaply, but take care of that domestic tourism. Embedded with international tourism, with the right targeting, with the right marketing plan, the right marketing strategy, segment the different brands, you know, and segment the different worlds, the different countries in the world that are your outbound markets, and give them do different marketing campaigns separately. And what you will get a tremendous increase in the number of arrivals.
How do you see, Mr. Khalifa, events like the Royal Mummies Parade that we had in 2021, or the Luxor, the Road of the Rams, Luxor also in 2021, or the awaited official inauguration, of course,
which is going to be an amazing thing.
Yeah,
I have to tell you something.
The Grand Egyptian Museum, in marketing Egypt,
adopting a policy, a strategy of developing events, local events, whether international, local, there is an event agenda, is the right thing in promoting tourism nowadays. If you don't have an agenda for events, if you don't have these mega events, the things that can bring very positive news out of the destination, then people will forget about you, okay? So what we're doing right now, perfect. It's that we are in the right track, putting out all these different events. Ricci in Luxor, there was an event, you know, for that designer. There was another one for Cartier. There was another one just recently. There was the upcoming. I think at the end of the year there is an amazing event. It's called Seven Wonders at the Pyramids. There is another event, as you mentioned before, for transporting the mummies to the Museum of Civilization, and the opening up of the Avenue of Sphinxes and the Ram Avenue of Sphinxes.
Yeah, with the presence of His Excellency the President himself.
And of course, which is a tremendous opportunity for us to push the destination worldwide. I've met people who come to that destination and they still remember the footage that they have seen in TV, you know, about these and how the opening of the route or the transporting the mummies, and they were so impressed. The more positive news that we bring out of our destination in terms of events is more better awareness, and better awareness means engagement, and engagement at the end of the day is going to be conversion, whether that conversion happens in the same year or the next following year.
I have a question, Mr. Khalifa, regarding the difference between foreign tourism and domestic tourism when it comes to creating jobs. We've always said that, you know, tourism is a key earner of foreign currency here in Egypt, and that is true, and that it creates millions of direct and indirect jobs, and that is also correct. But I want to know whether foreign or domestic tourism helps more in creating the direct and indirect jobs.
There are, first of all, you have to know that in any economy around the world, any economy, there are three major engines for that economy. First is industry, then agriculture, right, and then logistics. So those are the three the service industry. So
services,
you have like three services,
and technology is involved in all of those
financial
sectors,
services, includes
health, education,
health and education, everything. Tourism comes as a subdirectory after that, okay, into the services one. But tourism is a very important subdirectory of the economy of any country. Why? Because tourism as an industry, one of each 10 employed people in any country, in any economy, comes out from tourism.
So it's not just in Egypt.
Everywhere around the world, okay? So tourism as an industry, it presents an intangible kind of services, okay? It's like an export industry. What you do in tourism is that you actually have direct industries that are operated, that are serving tourism, and indirect industries. And the amount of indirect industries that tourism is serving nearly can go up to 40 other industries. So they're all connected. And because of the other industries that are serving, that have been served by tourism, that is a major engine for decreasing the unemployment rate in any country. For example, you get people working on the, serving at hotels. People, working in factories that are doing hotel utilities and things that hotels are needed. People working for food processing factories that are also providing food for hotels or providing food for tourists. So when you get that amount of demand that comes out from the tourism industry, it operates other industries, and it nearly can go up to 40 other industries.
Right.
If a tourist doesn't come to a country, then the grocery store is not going to be working well. Why? Because there is no demand, there is no extra demand. With that kind of extra demand, that if you don't get money from this industry, if you work indirectly with tourism, then you're not going to be able to buy, buy your groceries from somewhere. You're not going to be able to take a taxi. You're not going to be able to afford this. So many things. So it cuts off major industries, and it decreases. This is why when we had the COVID-19 closure, every other industry got paralyzed. Why? Because yes, domestic tourism helped it and saved it, but tourism right nowadays is one of the biggest factors for decreasing unemployment rate in any country.
And I wonder, Mr. Khalifa, what type of tourism brand, in your view, is using the best marketing strategies at the moment here in Egypt, and which type of tourism needs to develop more marketing strategies, which is an underdog at the moment, which has more potential if it uses better marketing strategies, in your opinion?
Well, I can't tell you really who's doing what better, but all what I can tell you is that we are improving in every level. But what we need to do is just to get people, sit together, put down a strategy, and the strategy has to be updated. And then we have to encourage governors in every governorate is to take tourism as a priority. That's the first thing, because that's what's happening in Europe. That's what's happening around the world. If you go around the world, you find this mayor is taking care of tourism, or this mayor, they're competing with each other. Who's attracting more and more tourists, to his destinations? So we need to get our governors to take care of tourism inside their own, whether that tourism pattern could be international or domestic, by refining the infrastructure, by giving more facilities and more support to stakeholders in the industry, by engaging them. that's very, very important. I think Sharm el-Sheikh is doing a great job in this regard. Hurghada is doing an amazing job, you know, handling all those thousands of people or millions of people that come to Hurghada every year. Luxor is doing a great job as well. We have great people in Luxor also looking after tourism. I think most of the touristic destinations nowadays are doing a great job providing the best service or better service to international travelers, because right now a lot of people are realizing how important that to their local economies.
Finally, a question, Mr. Khalifa, that always pops to my mind personally over the years is how much of the potential have we achieved when it comes to tourism? Because again, as you know, it's very clear it needs, it's not an overstatement, and it's not Egypt, but you know, the name Egypt markets itself. The treasures that we have market themselves. So how much do we have to go up? I mean, how many percent have we achieved of our potential? Because a lot of us as Egyptians truly believe in our heritage and in our treasures. We believe sky is the limit. So we just want to know how much have we achieved and how much do we have to go up in this specific area?
Tourism has been coming to Egypt since the last 200 years, okay? And the amount of travelers are increasing and decreasing based on the current events that are happening around us. What we are good at is that we have the right weather, we have the sun to sell, we have the right cultural tourism to sell and every other thing. But how much of that we are deserving, it's based on our capacity. The highest that we had, which was 13.5 million, and nearly to 14 million, and this is the best we can reach. And as I told you, if we reach the top capacity, we can reach 17 million so far. But 17. If we have, right. If we have every hotel filled out throughout the year,
but we Egyptians are jealous. We are jealous. We see other countries getting 60 and 70, yes, and a tourist for each citizen. I mean, that's
we have to also refine infrastructure. That's one thing. A second thing, we have to do better connectivity between us and different countries around the world. And thirdly, which is very important, that we have to understand this, there are countries who get tourism from other countries, which is what we call regional tourism, okay? And the ease of access to these countries is so easy. For example, you take France, for example. You'll find France getting nearly 90 million tourists every year, right? And if you look at this number specifically where they come from, you'll be astonished to know that 60% of this number or 65% of this number, they come from neighboring countries. So people crossing the borders, okay? And they come across and they're crossing the borders. They have a lot of hotels, fine. They have a lot of space, you know, for accommodation, especially what is.
So our neighbors in the Arab world, in Africa and the Mediterranean.
This is what we need to look at. If we want to have more tourists, we need to go to our the most neighboring countries we have. We need to encourage them to bring more tourists. And if you encourage those people, it's easy access. It's only a couple of hours flight, or even by car, and you will be able to get the amount of number that you're looking at.
All right, international tourism marketing expert, Mr. Alaa Khalifa. It's been a great pleasure. Thank you very much for being with us.
Pleasure is always mine.
Thank you. Thank you, dear viewers, for watching this episode of Business Insider. Next week, same time, a new episode. Until then, have all the best and goodbye.